Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity and welcome to a brand new baby year. I'm Reverend Marla Mason, and I am thrilled to be with you on January 3rd, 2021. It's an opportunity for us to open our hearts and minds to a new way of being, become aware that we have come from somewhere. And that somewhere has so many gifts in it for our right now. And our right now has so many gifts in it for our future. And this year, our theme for the entire year is timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision. How can we anchor, how can we root more fully in the timeless wisdom on which the spiritual principles that we teach are based? How can we allow ourselves to know that that foundation, those roots, provide us with all we need to allow ourselves to be pulled forth into an evolutionary vision, a vision in which our shared spiritual awakening creates a world that works for everyone. This is what we are about here at Unity in 2021, and I'm excited about it, and I hope you are too. Today in particular, we're going to talk about how, we're on the cusp of something new here. I don't know about you, but sometimes things have looked pretty dark in the last year for me. How about anybody else? Does it look kind of a little bit like, oh my gosh? But I believe in the principle of the dark night of the soul. It truly is darkest before the dawn. There is something new. We are poised for an evolutionary leap in spiritual consciousness. We don't know what that leap is yet, but let's position ourselves to move forward boldly and with confidence into whatever it is that the universe has next for us. And so we're going to talk today about those foundational principles and about that evolutionary vision, and how do we be in the middle place? How do we make ourselves available to what is to come by simply being present in the middle place and allowing it to do what it does? So welcome. We are allowing it to do what it does in love and in grace and in power and with conviction. I'm grateful you are all with me today and this year. We'll talk a little bit more about what we're up to this year a little later in the service, but let me first give thanks to Jan Kalin, who led our meditation service this morning. Thank you, Jan. You are a blessing to this community, and I am grateful for you. Also serving you this morning, Dorothy Bostetter is our board host. She is your board treasurer, and you are very grateful for her, even if you are not sure about that yet. I'm very sure that we are all very grateful for Dorothy. Monica McDowell-Elvig is holding everything down this morning. She's our producer, and you'll hear from her with our announcements a little bit later today. I also want to let you know, typically, often, usually, except for the first Sunday of the month, we have prayer circle at the conclusion of the service. This is the first Sunday of the month, and on the first Sunday of the month, we have Q&A. So you can stick around for open Q&A. You can ask anything you want to know about our center, about me, about our teaching, about what we're talking about this year. Anything you want to know that is somehow loosely Unity related, you can ask at our Q&A today after the service. Our guest musician today, providing the musical inspiration for what we are up to, is Olivia Brownlee. I'm so grateful to welcome you, Olivia. She is a musician, she is a teacher, she is a creator, she is a lover of life, and that comes through so beautifully and brilliantly in your music. And so we're going to allow Olivia to anchor us in song right now.
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I say, it's all right. Little darling, it's been a long and cold and lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's all right. little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. It's all right. Sun, 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 here we come. 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 Little darling, I feel that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
And so we rest in the awareness that there is an infinite something, a beingness and energy in which all is well. And we recognize and we know that this energy, this beingness is infinite, and so nothing can be outside of it. And so we are of its name and of its nature. We are the infinite energy of spirit, individualized as each one of us. We are fully unified with all that it is. And so in our lives and in our world, all is well. This is the spiritual truth we own and we recognize, and we revel in this truth. And so it's in this awareness that I give thanks for the opportunity to come together in spiritual community to remember who and whose we are, to remember this truth. And I know that this time is holy, it is sacred, it is blessed. And so I open this celebration, this gathering with a grateful heart, knowing the divine appointment has been kept and nothing but good can come of it. And so it is. Amen. I'm going to read through today's affirmation. And as I do that, I invite you to just take a receptive pose. Allow these words to permeate your mind, your heart, every cell in your body, every pore in your skin. Allow these words to simply seep into you. And in a moment, you'll have the opportunity to declare them with me. Steeped in the wisdom of the ages, I rest in this moment at peace with all that is. I live what matters, and I humbly resolve to evolve, and so it is. And now please join me by speaking these words aloud and with conviction. Steeped in the wisdom of the ages, I rest in this moment at peace with all that is. I live what matters, and I humbly resolve to evolve. And so it is.
Little girl running to the edge of the wood, never been in but she thought she could. Didn't take nothing but a big old breath, might have been running to the edge of death. Probably running to the edge of death. Ain't it good to know every path leads home? Little girl running to the edge of the trees, ever-loving case of the shaky knees. Shoulda, coulda, woulda in the branches there. Every bad feeling in stereo, stereo, stereo. Got a sad feeling in stereo. Ain't it good to know every path leads home? Ain't it good to know every path leads home? Every path leads home. Little girl running for the kitchen door, back in the house that she knew before. Brushing her hair, mask on her face, ash on her head like a big disgrace. Ash on her head like a fireplace. And they take her hand, and they let her down, and she hurt her foot, and she lost her crown. And they know she wouldn't, and she knows she will. It's all timing now, going for the kill. And her hair is tangled and her face is bare, and they're looking for her and she isn't there. And the trees are dark and the wind is cold, and she's running in 'cause she's getting old. Every path leads home. Every path leads home.
Right? Every path leads home. The path you are on right now is taking you home. The path we are on collectively and individually is taking us home. It's the only place we can possibly go. And I'm so grateful that we have annual reminders like a new year to give us an opportunity to reflect on where we've been and where it is we want to go. To give us an opportunity to ask ourselves, you know, what really changed at midnight on December 31st? Nothing. What changed is our consciousness. And when our consciousness changes, effects change. When we say, it's a new year, it's midnight, we're going to celebrate. My neighbors around here, man, there were more fireworks. I don't even know. It was going on for a really long time. And they were saying, we are ready for something new. We are ready to open our hearts to something new. We are ready to have a different experience in the world. And that is a shift in consciousness. And a shift in consciousness always results in a shift in form. And yet, we are carrying with us into that moment and even into this moment 2.5, 3 days later, the same events are unfolding around us that were unfolding 3 days ago. How will we meet them? What is the opportunity? This is the question. And I want to say that in our culture, in our political life, in our spiritual lives, this is a time for great wisdom. Yes? This is a time in which great wisdom is called for. I think sometimes we well, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I feel tempted to move into a more reactionary state, a more judgmental state. And what I can tell you is reactions and judgment are not anchored in wisdom. And I'm really bummed about that sometimes, because my reactions and my judgments often really want to be expressed. But we are in a time right now in which great wisdom is called for, because the same issues that were here at 11:59 on New Year's Eve are still in front of us. With this shift in consciousness, we have an opportunity to have a different outcome than might have been, because we are willing to lean into, to rest in wisdom. And this is our theme for this year. Our theme, ancient wisdom, evolutionary vision. Can we root ourselves in the ancient wisdom that gave birth to our unity principles, our understanding that God is absolute good, that there is nothing outside of the mind and body of God, because God is infinite, God is everywhere present. We cannot be separate from it. And this life, this energy, this power, this presence is the power and the presence of good. It is the power and the presence of love. It is the power and the presence of joy. See, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore did not think this up in the 1920s. They studied and they practiced and they had intellectual learnings, and they had personal revelations of spiritual truth through their study and through their practice. But they did not create these principles. They simply codified them and kind of pulled them all together in a teaching that is rooted firmly in ancient wisdom. So how can we engage in the study and the practice of this ancient wisdom, and at the same time allow ourselves to be pulled by a vision, allow ourselves to be pulled forward into our vision of shared spiritual awakening that transforms the world and makes the world a better place for everyone? See, that is our shared collective vision, Unity Worldwide Ministries. Yes. So how do we root ourselves in the knowledge and the practice and the application of our spiritual principles, and at the same time allow ourselves to be pulled forward into a powerful vision that calls us into something greater than we already are? And here's the challenge with that. Right now, we are neither here nor there. We are not in the past, and we are not in the vision. We don't have a world right now that works for everyone, do we? No, not even close. We are neither here nor there. We are in what is called a liminal period. We are poised, we are ready, but we're kind of nowhere. A liminal period is a time of uncertainty, a time of not knowing. The word limen, L-I-M-I-N, it's a Latin word, and it literally means threshold. What is a threshold? The door, right? The threshold is what we step over to get out the door. A threshold is a border between one thing and another thing. Or maybe a threshold is a border between one way of being and a new way of being. A threshold, an opportunity to step out of the house and into the mind and the heart of God. I found it really interesting when I looked up limen in the dictionary, L-I-M-I-N. I learned that in the physiological world, limen is the point at which a stimulus has magnified to an intensity to produce an effect. And so I think about that, like the example they gave in the dictionary was like a pain threshold. Like my mom had a very high pain threshold. She could tolerate so much pain. I can't even tell you. So there, like the intensity had to reach a certain, the pain had to reach a certain intensity before it felt like pain to her. I have a pretty low pain threshold. I don't have to have a lot of intensity before I'm like, okay, that hurts, right? And so the point at which the stimulus has reached an intensity that a thing becomes what it is. There is a stimulus that is building in intensity, that is pushing us through the door, over the threshold, into something new. And yet right now we're not there. And we're also not there. And we're also just here. And just being right here, frankly, is a pretty uncomfortable spot for me because I like to know and I want to have a plan and I need 6 goals and the strategies that are going to get me to those goals, blah, blah, you know, all the stuff. But the fact is, when we don't know exactly what the vision looks like, I mean, shared spiritual awakening in a world that works for everyone. I mean, I love it. I love the vision, but I don't know how to get there. And setting 6 goals and 18 strategies for getting there are not going to get me there because I don't know how. And can I revel in the not knowing? Can I be present only to what is? Can I be anchored in the principles, in the ancient wisdom in which our principles are reflected, and yet still allow the vision to pull me across the threshold, not knowing where I'm going? How can I step out confidently, courageously, with faith, moving forward across that threshold from one way of being to a new way of being without yet knowing what the new way of being is? That's a tall order for me. I like to know what the thing is. And so this year in our theme, we are going to have a couple of tools to help us along. The first is this one, The Book of Soul by Mark Nepo. And I strongly encourage you to get yourself a copy of these. The subtitle of this book is 52 Paths to Living What Matters. And what we're going to do is we're going to take each path each week. There's 52 weeks in the year, right? So each week we will look at the next path. The first path, I did my work with the first path on New Year's Day. Beautiful. An opportunity to read. It's about 3 pages of reading and then some questions to walk with, right? And the questions, just a couple of questions and 3 pages of reading. This is not hard, you guys. I don't know how I could make it any easier. But let me tell you what he says about this reading and practice. Sorry, I have to be able to read the Roman numerals. So Mark Nepo says here, after being born physically, we unfold within a second womb meant to incubate our better angel. Let me say that again. After being born physically, we unfold within a second womb meant to incubate our better angel. This second womb is an experiential one that, through the labor of a lifetime, births the soul on earth. This book explores that process of transformation in its mystery, difficulty, and inevitability. Because things that matter are vast and timeless, I offer each chapter as a different path by which the soul can drink from what matters. And because things that matter take time, I've designed this journal as a weekly reader to be entered a chapter each week over the course of a year so you can weave your inner reflection into your days, letting one inform the other. So each week, 2 to 3 pages of reading, 2 to 3 questions to walk with, reflection questions. And I will look at this each week, and I encourage you to join me because there's power in collective spiritual practice. There's power in group spiritual practice. And we will meet on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. online just to do a check-in. How are you walking with your questions this week? What were your insights from your 2 pages of reading this week? We'll meet online at 1 o'clock every Wednesday to just check in and see how it's going and reinforce what's happening for you with the power of this path, the power of the Book of Soul. So that's one way that we're supporting you in being in this place that is neither here nor there this year. The second way that we're supporting you is with our January book of the month, which is How to Lead When You Don't Know Where You're Going. Now, I want you to remember that even if you're not a formal leader, you are a leader. We are all leaders. So we all need to know how to lead when we don't know where we're going. If nothing else, you are a leader in your individual life. A leader is simply one who motivates and facilitates. Do you ever need to motivate and facilitate yourself in your own life? I know I do. So how to lead when you don't know where you are going. And what I want to share with you from this book is in this liminal state, in this, we don't know where we're going, right? We're neither here nor there. Susan Beaumont is the author of this book, and she says the natural human response is to resist liminality. The natural human response is to resist being in this state of not knowing and to strive either backward to the old familiar identity or forward to the unknown. The ambiguity and disorientation are so heightened at times that the work required to move forward becomes impossible to engage. And yet, this is the nature of life. Can we allow ourselves to be in this liminal state, to stand on the threshold, ready to let go of what is behind us, but also willing to carry the wisdom it gave us with us, and to know that whenever this vision is, this evolutionary vision that is calling us, whatever it is, we can be in this place of liminality, of not knowing, with this, with just a sense of all is well. The universe is for me and all is well. Mark Nepos says the goal is not to control or conquer life, right? Sometimes I think I have to control life. I have to conquer life. The goal is not to control or to conquer life, but to immerse ourselves in this liminal state, to immerse ourselves in life and see what it has for us. This is the evolutionary pose that will call us forward into something new. I said earlier, we are on the cusp of something new. We are poised on an edge of such potential. And if we're willing to stop trying to control things, if we're willing to stop trying to conquer things and check things off of lists and simply be in the infinite what for a little bit of time, then that thing can make itself known to us in a way that we never could have planned, right? God's idea is so much bigger than mine. I get ideas, right? I love having ideas. I like moving forward toward ideas. And yet, God always has better ideas and bigger ideas than I do. That's just the way the universe works. The mind of God is infinite. My mind is at one with the infinite mind, but also limited by my human capacity to think. And when I lift myself in consciousness into the God mind, then I can begin to align myself with the bigger idea that God has for myself and for the universe. So how do we camp out in this liminal space? How do we be here? It's kind of a funny thing it's almost like, okay, so now we're going to create a checklist for how to be in the nothing. Which is kind of funny to me. But we are human beings, and we need boundaries and guidance. And that is a lot of what this particular Susan Beaumont book is about. And some of this is from her book, but some of this is also kind of like what works for me. So the things that I was able to identify that really helped me stay immersed in the liminal state, the things that really helped me immerse myself in life without trying to conquer or control. And the first one that comes to mind has to do with honoring the past. And this is what I'm talking about when I say, we allow ourselves to stay rooted in the infinite wisdom in which the spiritual principles that we teach are based. We allow ourselves to stay rooted in that. And we recognize that those came from some human experience. People had experiences in the world that led them to the insights, these spiritual principles and spiritual laws. And so what we want to do is honor the experiences in our lives, individually and collectively, that allowed us to see more clearly these ancient principles, this ancient wisdom. But you know, I don't know about you, when I stay too attached to the past, it's like it sucks me back and it sucks me back and it sucks me back. And so what we want to do is find ways to honor the past, to recognize what was lost, to identify what we learned, and to choose consciously what we want to carry forward with us as we cross the threshold. What is the timeless wisdom? What are the lessons learned that we want to carry with us forward as we move into whatever this next great yet to be is? And this is important because you know, there are losses when we move, anytime we move across a threshold into a new way of being, right? Uh, I think many of us have experienced a number of losses in the last year, yes? And so it's why we do memorials, right? It's why we do releasing ceremonies. It's why we do some of the things that we do ritually, is to honor the loss, to recognize the loss, and to be able to create the space by grieving the loss, to be able to create the space to reflect on what we learned. You know, last year I facilitated a memorial service, and I was so struck when people stood up to share at this pre-COVID memorial service. When people stood up to share, I was really touched by everything people shared about this person and how this person had impacted their life had to do with a learning, something they had learned from this person. So even our losses, you know, we look at what we had in life, and when we let it go, we carry with us the lessons, the things that we learned. And so let's be discriminating. You know, I mean, I've had some tough lessons in my life that hurt. And I could decide, wow, I learned to be afraid and I'm going to carry fear forward with me. I could choose that. Or you know what else I could choose? I could choose to recognize that was a tough experience and I was afraid. But you know what? That's evidence of how courageous I am, that I was able to move through that situation. See, I can be discriminating and I can recognize the courage it took to walk that path and carry courage forward with me as the lesson from that experience. Or some other thing that isn't going to provide me with the future I say I want. And so in this liminal phase, as I immerse myself in life as it is, I honor the past, I grieve the losses, I explore the lessons, and I am discriminating in terms of what I want to carry forward with me. And then secondly, we want to, you know, it's so important to just be able to have this liminal state be what's normal. Just normalize it. You know, if we're no longer that, you know, our center has been in a pretty darn liminal state since March, right? And not just us, not just our center, but our culture. Like, so many things are on hold and we don't know where we're going, and we don't know how long this pandemic is going to last, and we don't know when we can meet again, and what do we do about our building, and blah, 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 blah. We've been in a liminal state since March where we don't really know what's going to happen. And that is the fact. And if we are no longer that, if we are no longer unity that meets in a building and has Sunday services and has classes in the library and has a youth program, if we are no longer that, what are we? And it's just a question. It's not that anything's wrong. We don't need to have any judgment about it. Remember, we've honored the loss. I mean, I feel super sad about not being able to see you guys. Do you know it's almost 10 months since I have seen most of you in person? And I feel a great sense of loss about that. You know, I go to our building about once a week, and every time I walk in there, part of me just wants to cry because I miss you all so much, and I miss the feeling of our gatherings and our time together in our building. But you know, I don't have to let that run me. I don't have to let my grief run me when I normalize the experience and I just say, you know what, this is what we are now. And it's okay, because this is what we've been given. And we're finding new ways to be together, and we're finding new ways to create memories with one another. And that's good too. These things are predictable and normal in the conditions in which we are experiencing life right now. And it doesn't have to be debilitating. It could be debilitating. I could choose to have it be debilitating. I could choose to say, oh my God, it's just too painful. I can't possibly anymore. It's too hard to go through this. I can choose to be debilitated by this experience, this liminal experience. Or I can choose to simply, okay, this is what we've been given. What is ours to be in this situation? This is predictable, given the circumstances. And even stuff like, I don't know. Seriously, you guys, that is not a very satisfying answer to me. You know, people ask me quite often, when do you think we'll be back in our building? And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. I can make some guesses, but I don't know. And that's okay. That's okay. We just normalize that. It's the current condition, and we don't make it wrong. We simply say, I don't know. And here's what we're being right now until we know. And when we know, that's going to be great too. And we'll normalize that too. And so as we immerse ourselves in life, we just recognize that the things that are happening in our life are not meant to debilitate us. They're just meant to be. This is the womb. Mark Nepo said, you know, we're born physically, we're born into a new womb that is nurturing our better self. It's teaching us to be better people. The third thing around how to successfully immerse ourselves in this liminal place has to do with humility. And this is right out of Susan Beaumont here. She talks about walking humbly, be willing, be teachable. Don't be idealizing the old and trying to go backwards in time. Be humble. You know, humility is such a powerful state. And sometimes we think it can be tempting to think that humility is a lack of power. It's an expression of a lack of power. And that is true of false humility. But the real thing, what the root of that word means, is that we are teachable. That's what it means to be humble. We're just teachable. I'm teachable. I am willing to release my attachment to the past. I'm willing to be open to the new. I'm willing to see what the universe has next for me. And I humbly fall to my knees before the God of my being, and I say, teach me, show me. That is a powerful, powerful place to be, because when we say that, we are taught and we are shown. And there is great power in being available to the lessons and being available to that which is to be known by us. And then finally, this is part of our theme this year. As we immerse ourselves successfully, as we immerse ourselves in the liminal state in a way that is life affirming, resolve to evolve. Resolve. I am willing to evolve. We're going to come back to this in March. Super excited about March. I resolve to evolve. There is something that wants to express as me, and I resolve to evolve into the infinite being that would express that perfectly and divinely. The word resolve, God, I love words, you guys. I thought about resolve. I was in my head, I was thinking, now what would resolve really mean? Resolve, like resolve a problem. Well, like that's not resolution. Like resolution is determination. I'm determined, How does that have to do with solving a problem? But when I looked it up in the dictionary, what I learned is the root word is loosen. Loosen. And to me, that makes sense in the context of determination, right? I loosen my attachments and make myself available, loosed from my old ideas, loose from any ideas of lack or limitation or can't do. I am determined to move forward. I am determined. I resolve. I am determined to open my heart and mind to God's idea for me. And the word evolve literally means unroll or unfold. I am resolved. I am determined to unfold more and more fully every day in my spiritual awareness, my spiritual awakening. I am resolved to evolve. And in that liminal state, if I can honor the past, if I can carry forward consciously with me the things that I truly want to live from, if I can normalize the experience, and yeah, this is just the way life is. If I can walk humbly and be open and be teachable, and if I can resolve to evolve, I can be in the liminal state in a way that I cannot help but experience more and more of the divinity that I am as me. And so we stand at the threshold. We stand at the threshold of something amazing. It's kind of like I had this image in my spiritual practice around this yesterday of like, I've been in a dark house and I stand at a door, a threshold, and I can see out the door the light and the green and the clouds and the sun and the beauty of my powerful future. And as I stand on that threshold, humbly and willing and available, all I need to do is step. And so as I was considering this yesterday and thinking through after my my meditation time, what our white stone ceremony would look like, I realized that here's a liminal moment for y'all. I don't think we can do our white stone ceremony today because there's something that has to be done first. And I have my little white stone right here. And I hope you do too. And if you don't have a white stone, in some ways this is better, because if you didn't get our holiday toolkit, you may not have a white stone. And you will have a chance this week to go out, just go walking around in your garden and find a white stone somewhere, or out in the neighborhood park, and bring a stone home and have it ready next week, because we are going to do this next week. But there's something we must do first, and it has to do with this practice of being immersed in the liminal space. It has to do with honoring the past and grieving what was lost and identifying what we have learned. And so what I would like to do is, if you wish, I invite you to just grab a pen and a piece of paper so that you can have something physical, a physical representation of this. And if you would just soon do it in your head, feel free to be present to this, to this experience in your head, whatever works for you. Sometimes I think it helps to have a physical representation. So feel free to grab a pen and a piece of paper if you wish, and let's do a little bit of honoring of the past together, a little bit of releasing. And so with your pen and your paper handy, I invite you to bring your attention to your breath. And to follow your breath as it moves effortlessly in and out of your body. And to center in the awareness of oneness, of unity, the ancient wisdom of the ages. There is only one life. That life is God's life, the life of the infinite beingness that we call God. And because that beingness is infinite, there is nothing outside of it. I must have my being in it. And simply allow this consciousness, this awareness to fill your mind and fill your body as you feel yourself begin to vibrate. With the oneness, the allness of spirit, the energy of the divine. And you recognize there is one mind, God's mind, and that mind and your mind are one mind now. And all that is known to the mind of God is known to you effortlessly and easily. And in this consciousness, allow yourself to know now what it is you have lost this year. What it is you have lost in the time leading up to this new year. Perhaps there are several losses. What is it that is symbolized by this experience of loss? And if you wish, feel free to write down what comes to mind or simply know it in your mind. What is the loss that you are called to embrace more fully this day? Then, as you embrace this awareness more fully, know that you are comforted by the infinite mind and heart of God, that there is a universal presence that is with you always, that comforts, that supports, that sustains, and that it is safe to be present to this loss and to feel your feelings about it. For you are supported. The universe catches you always. And in this feeling state of loss, of grief, begin to see a small glimmer of what you've been given. It may only be a glimmer right now, but you have been given something, or perhaps it is fully orbed, the gift of this loss. Whichever it may be, or something in between, simply allow yourself to see and to know what it is you've been given, the wisdom you've been given, the experience you've been given, the grace you've been given. What has been the gift of this loss? And feel free to jot that down or to simply hold it in your mind. And as you rest in this grief state, allow yourself to know now how you will support yourself going forward in being present to this loss. Who will you reach out to? How will you support yourself? How will you care for yourself? And you might take this opportunity to remember our prayer chaplains are waiting for your email. And as you Balance in this liminal place between the grief and the lesson. Begin to imagine what it is you will carry forward with you. Begin to imagine how you have been transformed by this experience into something new, how you have been evolved. Begin to imagine yourself unfolding into a new way of being as you step forward into 2021. And in this way, you begin this new year with an ending, yet embracing and immersing yourself in all of your experience, using the liminal season to grow you, to expand you, to evolve you. Mark Nepo tells us that where the light and the dark meet is the threshold of depth. Where the light and the dark meet is the threshold of depth. And as you begin to see yourself move consciously into this liminal season, know that you have been deepened, you have been opened, you have received an invitation to stand humbly before the infinite and allow yourself to be all that it would have you be. And so as you move forward into this week, know that you are supported, you are sustained. You immerse yourself in life with a grateful heart. And so I close this message knowing that we have all been given the gift we are here to receive. And I open 2021 knowing that we are poised, anticipating, open to something greater than we have ever known before. And so it is. Amen.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, oh, you know how I feel. It's a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new life for me. Ooh, it's a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new life, and I feel good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, oh, you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I feel good. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, oh yes you do. Butterflies are having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, that is what I mean. And this old world is a good world and a bold world for me. Stars, when you shine, you know how I feel. Scent of the pine, oh, you know how I feel. Freedom is my
Oh, Olivia, thank you so much. That was beautiful. And thank you, Reverend Marla, for another inspired message as we begin 2021. I find it really wonderful to have a word that feels so powerful and opening and constructive as liminal. Isn't it nice to have a word to describe the season, the period we're in, rather than pandemic and coronavirus and COVID-19 and isolation, all such negative terms, when there is something so positive in this period that we're in. And how grateful I am that we have the message, that we have this community, and that we have some tools, the books, the classes, to support and sustain us through this liminal season as we move through it and come to the other side. With that spirit, that energy of gratitude, knowing that this center feeds us so much, and our gift back to this center is our presence, our awareness, our awakening, and our financial blessings. Please join me in our offering affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
And so I speak a word of blessing on these gifts, on the giver, and on all of the ways this money blesses our community. I know that we are richly and abundantly supported here at Unity of Bellevue, and we are a support. For we recognize the cyclical nature of life. We recognize that God is good and all is well. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Monica McDowell-Elvig. I'm your Center Administrator. We are so grateful you are here. If you are visiting with us virtually for the first time, we welcome you. We are so glad that you are here. It is challenging to stay connected to new people. And we are completely online. All of our services, all of our programs are online. So we invite you to stay connected with us by signing up for our weekly e-newsletter. You can do that by going to our website, unityofbellevue.org. And at the bottom of every page is a sign-up form that you can sign up for that weekly e-newsletter. And I will follow up if you do that and see if you would like a welcome packet from us with some free gifts for you. We welcome you into our community. We welcome you into this liminal time, and we invite you to walk with us to discover timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. What is happening this week online is, first of all, today, Q&A Sunday. Following the service, we'll take a 3-minute break once the celebration service ends, and then our Q&A. It's your opportunity to ask questions of our board, any questions you have about our principles, our practices, and our policy. So stay online after that for that. We will not be having our virtual prayer circle like we normally do. That will continue next Sunday. But if you have prayer requests, reach out to our prayer chaplains. You can email them, prayerchaplains@unityofbellevue.org, or you can go to our pray page on our website and fill out the prayer request form. If you would like one of them to reach out to you to pray with you or just to talk with you, please put that in your message and one of them will reach out. We are grateful for our prayer chaplains. Tomorrow night, Sisters in Spirit meets online, 6:30 p.m. Reverend Marla will be facilitating that. If you are a woman or woman identified, you are welcome. You can find the link for that on our website, unityofbellevue.org/launch, or just push the button at the top of the page that says Sunday and online gatherings. And then this Wednesday, Living What Matters, 1 p.m. This is your opportunity to put into practice what we're reading throughout the year. Living What Matters. It's from the Book of Soul by Mark Nepo. Excuse me. And that is available for pre-order on our online bookstore. Just click the shop button on our menu and pre-order that. It is expected to arrive tomorrow at the office, so I'll be shipping or delivering, or you can curbside pick up that book starting tomorrow. Fingers crossed, USPS. Okay. And then Saturday, the men's group meets 8:30 to 10 a.m. They meet for spiritual support and discussion. You can find the Zoom link on the same page for Sisters in Spirit on our launch page. Join the men for during this time. They support each other. They have a good time, and any men are welcome. I believe that is everything. Except Reverend Marla has a couple of her own announcements. Reverend Marla.
Oh, thank you, Monica. I want to say two things to you before we close. One is get yourself signed up for a winter class, because this is one of the ways that we can root ourselves in ancient wisdom by making a commitment to study for a set number of weeks, some of the principles, and to put them into practice. The two classes we are offering this winter, more information is online. Practical spirituality classes on Tuesday afternoons. This is a foundational level class to really get you anchored in what are the principles and how can I apply those in my life. The other class is the Essential Ernest Holmes. Now, most of you know, or many of you know, that Ernest Holmes is actually one of my favorite New Thought teachers. And in this class, we'll be doing some reading and discussion about some of his most important writings. And both classes are engaging and fun, and our people are amazing. I get into these classes and I'm just stunned. I feel so energized at the end of the evening. Patty is always like, oh my God, you're not going to go to bed for 3 hours, are you? And I'm like, no, it was too fun. So just know that these are engaging, fun opportunities to get grounded in spiritual community with one another and to root ourselves in that ancient wisdom that is part of our theme this year. I also want to let you know about a transition in our community. Our beloved Shirley Leeper Carcion did make her transition last week. She was with family in Olympia at the time, and she has been ill for some time. And so please join me in prayer for Shirley's family and for those who loved her, and just know that, you know, these worldly transitions. I was thinking yesterday that maybe this human life is the liminal phase, that there's something we came from and something we are going to, and this whole human life is the liminal phase. And so what I know for Shirley is that she has moved into an awareness of something greater, unlike anything those of us still here on planet Earth can know. And so join me in that consciousness, and also in prayers of comfort and support for her family. So in that awareness, let's close with the prayer for protection. Then we'll take a little break and stick around for the Q&A. Please join me with conviction. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. See you in 3 minutes, everybody. Bye.
This is the year for making changes. This is the year for moving on. This is the year of overcoming. This is the year for growing strong. This is the year for a new way of thinking. This is the year for making plans. This is the year for reaching out, and this is the year for joining hands. On our lonely nights of yearning, on all the dark and cloudy skies, all the unsteady bridges burning, all of the doubt and all the lies. This is the chance to recapture the power. This is the time to abandon the fear. This is the moment, the finest hour. This is the year, this is the year. This is the year that I put into action all my desires and all of my means. This is the year that I follow my passion. This is the year of my dreams. This is the year I'm letting go of trying to change the ones I love. This is the year I turn it over. This is the year I look above. This This is the year that I take my intention, turn it away from distraction and talk. This is the year I take the step, and this is the year I walk the walk. This is the year that I put into action all my desires and all of my means. This is the year that I follow my passion. This is the year of my dreams. This is the year I make it happen. This is the year I follow through. This is the year I move ahead on all of the things I want to do. This is the chance to renew my commitment. This is the time to be conscious and clear. This is the moment for living fully. This is the year. This is the year. This is